Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my book review where I give unhinged, spoiler free recaps of books that I've recently or not so recently read. And today we are talking about Iron Widow by Shiran J. Zhao. This is gorgeous. This is my bookmark. So I technically haven't finished the book. Also, this book came with a jacket, and the jacket is gorgeous. I'll put a picture of the jacket right here. What happened to the jacket, you might be asking? I don't know. It was on the book and then it wasn't on the book. It's about a strong woman who pilots a giant mech, and she ends up falling for two guys, and then they end up falling for each other. That's actually just a huge plot point and a huge selling point of the book. That's not even a spoiler. And they are essentially trying to change the way the system works, because the way the system works currently is that the women are disposable. So you put them in the mechs, and if they perish, that's whatever. But Zetian said, no, absolutely not. You're not about to take my life. And also there's a little bit of gender ambiguity and a lot of beautiful butterfly imagery. This is an amazing book. The author is on TikTok and they talk about their book. They also have other books. This is a young adult book. I think they have a middle grade book as well. This book is also a series, also with gorgeous covers, and the author talks about amazing campaigns and great people that you can give to if you ever want to go to their page. They are a truly wonderful person, and I really wanted to highlight this book despite the fact that I haven't finished it. It's not because it's bad, it's actually a really good book. And it has an amazing thing, which is, in my head, I was always like, well, why are love triangles, number one, not a triangle, because we're not all in love with each other. We're in a love corner. There's no connecting point to two people. Also, I feel like some of y'all could just end up in a relationship together, and they all did. Yeah, this is such a good book. It's such a good book. I can't really recommend it enough. But for next time, we are going to be talking about feminism and intersectionality and my complicated relationship with the word feminist. Alright, bye! Hello everyone, and welcome back to my book review where I give unhinged, spoiler-free recaps of books that I've read recently or not so recently. And today we are talking about Hood Feminism by Nikki Kendall. This is a book all about the women who feminism sort of often leaves out. And I read this book because I have a very strained relationship with feminism. I grew up, and even now, I still see a lot of feminists who not only don't look like me, but don't seem to think about people who look or have similar identities to myself. In undergraduate, I actually took a class called PR and Social Justice, and we talked about some of the feminist movements. And even throughout all the iterations of the waves, there were women of color, disabled women, queer women who had to create their own groups, and in many ways name their own groups, like womanism, in order to make a way for women's rights, for queer rights, for femme rights, for AFAB people's rights, for trans women's rights, because it's not necessarily fitting into feminism, which is one of the reasons why I wouldn't necessarily call myself a feminist. The word has a complicated history, and also because the women in my family who constantly have fought for the rights of Black women, and they wouldn't consider themselves feminists. They've never considered themselves feminists, and so I haven't either, but, I just consider myself an intersectional activist. Whatever. That the label's not really important. Back to the book. This is actually a great book if you are a feminist, or if you're sort of like me and you're like, I don't really vibe with the word, but I want to know more about ways that we can expand our thinking of this term. And this book talks about a lot of things. It talks about race, it talks about disability, it talks about gender identity, trans women and non-binary people. Where are they in terms of feminism, right? And also, and this is something that I've heard people bring up recently with the whole adopting 4B in the US. The idea that decentering men is something that all groups, all community groups, all ethnic groups can do is complicated. This is a great book. I really enjoyed it because this just sort of put into words that I don't hate feminism, and I don't think that it's bad. I just don't vibe with it because I feel like it leaves out a lot of people. And this book is trying to bridge that gap, saying that, well, actually feminism can and should include as many people as it can. It's a great book. It's a wonderful book, and I really would encourage you all to read it. For next time, we are going to talk about silly little romance. Number one, I don't really like romance as a genre, but I do like comedies, and also this was fantasy, so it's combining a lot of things, so it wasn't necessarily just hardcore romance, but it was fun. And the person who made the book is on TikTok, so get ready for that. That's for next time. Okay, bye. Take care of yourself. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my book review where I give unhinged, spoiler-free recaps of books that I've recently or not so recently read. I would say these books are fairly recent reads, and today we are talking about the Mead Mishaps series by Kimberly Lemming. And I do have to be honest, I have a strong urge to put an S on Kimberly Lemming's last name because that's a common thing that Black people do, but I will refrain from doing that. This is, as I've said, a series, and these books are about Black women who meet fantastical beasts and fall in love with them. But it's also so much more than that. Like I said in my previous video, I don't really love romance books that are just about romance, because I find it gets really boring really fast. I've heard the story before, people love each other. That's great. I feel like I need a little bit more depth, and I loved these books because of the comedy, because of the character growth, and also because of the wide world building. Also, I would recommend that you read these books in order because authors write books in a particular order for a particular reason. But if you're like me and read these out of order, that's also fine because I read the third book and then I went back to the first and I thought, oh my gosh, so this is what they were talking about. So it's not necessarily that you're going to be missing information, you're just going to get information at a different time. That's how I like to think about it. Also, of course, as always, read trigger warnings before consuming media. I listened to the audiobook version of this, and they said some trigger warnings before we even got into the book, which I appreciated. And I must say that the Mead Mishaps series does a really good job of talking about slavery without making me feel really gross and so black. So I appreciate that. That was good. Also, this is like my only gripe, not only with this book, but just sort of a lot of books that I've read that feature romances. I prefer like explicit consent. I think that's hot. I think it's cool when everyone verbally agrees to things. But I guess that's not for everybody. I guess. This was a great series. It was very funny. It was delightful to hear and see a black woman be the center of some man's attention. Anyways, there's 4 books, and then she recently came out with this alien book, and I feel like these are fun comfort reads, where you can just where I can just turn off my brain for a little bit and listen to a cute little story about people saving other people and then going, I'm not sure that I really like you, and then going, okay, maybe. It's cute. It's cute. I really like these books. For next time, we're going to talk about another cute book and another one that I listened to as an audiobook. It's becoming a trend. But this book is all about solar punk. So that should really narrow it down because there are about 6 books about solar punk. That's not true, but it feels like it sometimes. Okay, bye. I'll see you next time.